Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, Hex Speed, where we do just about anything. Um, Today's project is going to be interesting, so if you've been watching the Hangar 9 Hawk videos, um, you know what a great flyer this is, and quite honestly, I don't mind the paint scheme. I just don't like having the same thing as everybody else. So, in a moment of weakness, I ordered decals, and so now I feel somewhat committed to just repaint this thing. So, if you've seen some of my other videos, a couple of thumbnails had different paint jobs. The paint job I chose for this is kind of neat. It's definitely one I haven't seen done on a Hawk, which is another thing I like. I don't like having paint jobs that everyone else has done. Sometimes you can't get away from it, but anyways, it's a pretty cool scheme. So we're going to paint over the factory covering. And then I've never done that with a vinyl covered airplane, but I have done it with like monocoque covered airplanes. I think this is going to go relatively well. So this will be a little bit of a paint video, I guess you can call it. And we're going to go through that process a little bit. It's kind of a busy day. We have an indoor fly-in tonight. So before I get into the Hawk, and I do have to repair the wingtip, and I'm also going to do a couple of things. I'm going to make some wing fences. There's some little fins that go in front of the stabs. There's a number of little detailed things I kind of want to do on this just to kind of spice it up a little bit. I also need to lower the pilot and add a piece of solid tubing into the fuel tank to help avoid any future issues with fuel delivery. So I'm going to be doing that today, although that's not the initial concern. So we're having an indoor fly-in. I just bought this. This is the new E-Flight Foresight. A lot of fun outside, but it doesn't have a ton of wing area for the weight. So to be a better indoor flyer, I'm going to actually make some wing extensions out of Depron. It is going to change the CG, but I wanted to add some wing area to it so I can fly it a little bit slower, and I might also increase the size of the stab just a little bit as well. So that shouldn't take very long. I'm going to knock that out real quick, get that done, and then move on to the Hawk. So, unfortunately, we've been prepping the P-47 and the two Corsairs for the last few months to get ready for Scale Masters. And unfortunately, a bunch of guys that I know that were there last year aren't going this year. And it wasn't a huge showing last year either. So, it's a pretty big investment money-wise to take 3 airplanes there, plus the time and hotel and food and gas and everything else. And for what I think is going to be the attendance this year, which is going to be just a handful of people, unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to pass on Scale Masters, which really sucks. We've been kind of planning for it for a long time, but it just seems like this year's event is not going to be super well attended, or even well attended at all. It's not going to be a whole lot of people. So unfortunately, that's a competition. I'd like to compete, and so it's not a competition if it's a handful of people and there's only a couple of guys per division. So as much as that sucks, and I've honestly been going back and forth on that a lot over the last few weeks. I've talked to almost all my friends about what they would do in that situation, because I feel like if I don't go, then I'm part of the problem. But if I do go, I'm going to be somewhat disappointed in the turnout and the competition and the amount of other people there and stuff like that. So it really sucks. I definitely wanted to go. I wanted it to be a great event, and it just is shaping up like not many people are going. So it's really unfortunate. If they end up doing it next year, we'll probably try again, and hopefully they'll have more people. If they don't do it next year, we'll probably look for another scale event to try and enter with these airplanes. So that is what it is. It's really crappy, but like I said, it's a lot of money to go to fly against a handful of other people. So, and it's a competition. It's not a fun fly. So the whole point is to be challenged and to be difficult and to push yourself to do really well. And if there's not much competition, then it's not much of a challenge. So anyways, take that as you will. It's unfortunate, but we do have some friends going to California Jets next weekend, so there's a decent chance we're going to make it to that event instead. So, and it sounds like a lot of fun. We have quite a few friends going to that. So we'll see. It's still not fully decided yet. I don't know. I feel bad not going, and it sucks because I put so much work into these airplanes. Not that I don't get to enjoy them, but it just sucks because kind of their purpose in the last few months has been to get ready for this event. But anyways, I'm going to knock this out and move on to the Hawk. This will be a quick job. It's not going to be museum quality or anything. It's a sport flyer. So it's going to look cool from 10 feet, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But we knock this thing out, and yeah, we'll be back in a little bit. All right, guys, so if you remember in the maiden video, we had a dead stick caused by a fuel tank clunk issue. And for whatever reason, this gear decided not to come down, and I was able to cycle the switch, and it started to come down, but it didn't quite come down and lock before the airplane landed, and I couldn't hold it off any longer. So this is the extent of the damage. It scuffed this wingtip up, and it cracked the skin right here. I just cut and removed the covering, which honestly came off super easy. And everyone asked me if I was going to glass this, and honestly, maybe after a couple of seasons, if this starts to get kind of hammered, maybe I'll glass it and paint it. But I'm going to use another film over the top of this. I'm going to pull this wood back out and then thin CA it, kind of sand it. And then I think I have some vinyl, the same covering, like some spare covering that I got with Hangar 9 P51. So I might even just cut this whole section off if I have enough, because this is all scratched. So anyways, it's a wingtip. It's probably going to get scratched in the future, but I'm going to just fix this wood really quick, and then we'll see about recovering all of this. But yeah, not a huge issue, and yeah, let's get her done. All right, so you can see I have this whole tip cleared off. I ended up using some lightweight spackle on a couple of spots. I couldn't get the wood pulled out as far as I wanted, so used some spackle. Everything's sanded like 220, cleaned really well. And because this is like an adhesive back film, it's not heat activated necessarily like Monocoat. I decided to hit this with some Spray 77 spray glue first, just real light, to help stick this to it. I've never really repaired this stuff before, and again, this is leftover material from a Hangar 9 P51, like scrap material that they give you. I wish they gave scrap material for this airplane. Maybe they did and I threw it away. I don't remember, but it would be nice if they did include some of that. But anyways, we're going to use some of this old stuff. It doesn't matter the color because it's all getting painted. And yeah, I'm just going to let that dry for a second and stick this piece down. Then I'll trim off the edges and call it done. All right, there you have it. I ended up with some small wrinkles along the edge. And so I actually sanded this with like some 220 to kind of get rid of those sharp little ridges that were there. It's not too bad. Got a couple little wrinkles in it, but I mean, again, this is a sport scale airplane. It's essentially a big fun scale jet, so not the end of the world. This is a flyer. We're gonna fly the piss out of it. That's what these things are for. They're meant to just be flown and enjoyed, and not have to worry about little detail stuff. So it is what it is, but doesn't mean, you mistreat it, but just means it's not a competition or a museum piece or whatever. But anyways, obviously it looks much nicer than a damaged wingtip, and we're going to paint it. And like I said, I've never painted on this stuff. I believe that they use a silk screening process to put this, I don't know if it's ink or paint, onto the vinyl itself. So being as this is a matte finish, I don't think it's going to have too much problems with paint sticking to it. If this were glossy, I would scuff it with Scotch-Brite first. I don't think that's necessary, but what I'm going to do, because I have never messed with this stuff before as far as painting goes, I'm going to clean it, and then I'm just going to kind of like paint this wingtip over here, let it dry, and then do some pull tests with some masking tape and see how well it sticks, because I need the paint to at least stick well enough to be able to put decals on it without the backing of the decals pulling paint off. So that's what I'm going to do. I got the wing fence glued on. I'll flip that over so you can see it. Maybe I'll just do this. So there's the top. Turned out pretty cool. Like I said, it's just fiberglass. Pretty strong. I made It has like a little spike in the front of it to stick into the wood, and then I made a little groove in the wood to kind of glue this down into, and then it's got a fillet of super glue around it. So pretty strong. Obviously you can't bump into it real hard or you'll probably crack it loose. You're not going to break the actual piece, but you're going to break it loose. So, but yeah, so we're going to clean it, throw some paint on it really quick, and see how it goes. I also have the colors for the top. So this is Warbird colors. This is a water-based paint, so that's another thing I'm curious about is how well that's going to stick to this. I may end up having to actually paint the whole thing with the black first, because that's a spray paint, and I think it might stick relatively well to this. I don't know how well the water base is going to stick to this directly, so I may have to put some of that black paint down first and then the camouflage colors on top for it to stick well. So I'm going to try that too. Again, this is going to be like a test area. I'm going to spray some black, and then I'll paint some of that water-based on here, and then I'll paint some water-based over here just to see how well it sticks to this. And because it's the bottom, if it gets messed up a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Plus, it's going to be flat black on the bottom, so, and no one's going to see it. And I'm not going to care. So it's going to look good from 10 feet. And that's the whole idea here. So let's do some experimenting. All right, we got great news. Everything seems to stick really well, actually. Even the water-based colors for the camouflage, they stick totally fine to this material without any sort of sanding or scuffing or anything. Just cleaning it, shoot the paint on it. So that's a win right there. And yeah, I'm going to mask off this wheel, give it another quick wiping to get any overspray off of it, and I'm going to shoot this thing black on the bottom. Okay, it's all still drying. It's going to be flat, but there's definitely times where you kind of have to send it, and you just kind of ask yourself, why am I painting a brand new airplane? I don't really know, to be perfectly honest with you, other than the fact that I think it will look cool when it's done. Very rarely do I actually regret it once it's finished. It usually ends up looking pretty cool, and I'm like, all right, this looks awesome. I'm glad I did this. But when you hit it with that first little hit of spray, you know, on that brand new airplane, you're like, why am I doing this? This is a very expensive brand new airplane. I'm just gonna throw some spray paint on it for fun. But anyways, I think it's gonna turn out okay. A similar experience was when I was in high school. I had a 68 Cougar that my dad and I did all the body work, and he painted it for me. And I made a hood scoop for it, but I wanted to make it functional, so I had to cut a hole in the hood, and this was essentially a brand new paint job. Granted, it was a cheap paint job, but still, it was my car, and I took care of it and cleaned it every day, and it was spotless. And I just remember thinking, when I went to go cut the hole in the hood with a freaking cutoff wheel, it was just like, well. And then as soon as I hit it the first time, it was like, well, I guess we're doing this now. So it ended up being cool, and it actually did give it some power because, you know, it had some fresh, cool air going. I made like a little fiberglass bowl to hold the filter and everything, so it was actually a ram air scoop. It was all sealed off to the scoop, so it worked really well. But when I went to go cut the hood, I was definitely leery. Same way sometimes when you go to paint, you know, a model like this, like it's essentially perfectly fine the way it was. But, you know, I just can't help myself. If you guys have been watching the channel long enough, none of these airplanes in here are stock at all. Or they're just completely scratch built. Even the ones that were pretty cool, can't leave alone. So, and like I said, not that I hate this paint scheme. It's not horrible. It shows up really well in the sky. But I just don't like having the same thing as everybody else. So I'm just throwing a quick paint job on this thing. And honestly, I'm actually really happy with these paints. So these are the same paints that I used on Bentley's Corsair. So pretty affordable. The colors are all perfectly matched to the full scale colors. They have all kinds of different colors. This is obviously British, but they have American, Russian, German, and they're all perfectly color matched. They're pretty easy to spray, and they're water clean up. And typically I don't like water-based stuff because it usually isn't that great. But so far I've been pretty impressed with this stuff. And this is 60 bucks worth of paint. This is enough to paint a couple of airplanes at least. So it goes a long way as well. You don't have to worry about wearing a respirator to spray it. And that's essentially what this whole airplane was sprayed with, was Warbird Colors paints. So definitely liking those guys. They got some really cool stuff for great money. So anyways, so this is where we're at. The wings are painted. You see, you stay 5 feet away, everything's all right. Stabs are painted. I just think it's funny. Stabs are painted on the bottom, and now we're getting ready for the fuselage. I did put a piece of brass tube in on the fuel tank in the center of the clunk line. Everything's masked up. I just washed it, cleaned it, and we're gonna paint the black on the fuselage. Easy peasy. Alrighty, the fuselage black has been sprayed. It's pretty much dry. Looks decent from here. It's interesting about the black paint. It hides some things that were not great, and it highlights things that you couldn't see before that aren't great. So a little bit of a wash, I guess. At the end of the day, it's a film covered airplane, so it kind of is what it is. But overall, I think it's going to look great with the decals on it. I might do a little weathering. One of the cool things I noticed is, I don't know if it's going to come up on camera or not, but on the wings, you can see it right here. Here's one of the panel lines. The panel lines actually, you can sort, if you look hard enough, you can see the markings underneath from the other scheme. So that kind of works out nice, because now I can just find the panel lines and draw them out with a pencil and do a little bit of weathering or whatever. The real airplane that this is modeled after is actually a pretty clean airplane. They'd take it to air shows and stuff. It's a commemorative paint scheme, so it's not one of those birds that gets dirty, but I think the scheme would look kind of cool dirtied up a little bit, just to kind of hide some of the surface texture and stuff like that. But overall, I think it's going to look pretty cool. I think we're just going to fly the heck out of this thing and enjoy it, and enjoy it for what it is. So really fun, really big sport jet that looks like a hawk. So anyways, it's turning out pretty cool. And this process of spraying over this vinyl is super easy. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than just cleaning it and painting it. So anywho, we're getting ready for this indoor thing tonight. But yeah, it's going along pretty well. Okay, guys. Well, I gotta say, this paint job has certainly tried my patience. I'm kind of losing my crap in here. This paint has been good in other colors, and that's not showing up. There we go. The brown did not cover very well at all. The green, not terrible, but I mean, I've been spraying this crap for like 5 or 6 hours. It takes so many coats to make it cover. And I even put down like a base color to help. It's still drying. It's not, I got to do a little bit more, but it's essentially there. Anyways, what a pain in the butt. I can't wait for this to be over. It's supposed to be the weekend. It's supposed to be relaxing right now because I have to go to work tomorrow. But anyways, I guess I'll touch up a few last spots, call it done, and wait for the decals. But it would probably look pretty cool with like some panel lines drawn on and a little bit of weathering. Even though the rim was not weathered, really, it would probably look a lot cooler on the model if it were a little bit weathered. But we'll see if I have time. Yeah. All right, guys, there you have it. I got the decals from Cali in today. I am missing a couple of things actually. It's supposed to say Canada across the top, and there's some red nomenclature that goes behind this logo. Aside from that, it's all on there. Sizing is pretty good. I put some dull coat over everything. This model could probably benefit from like some panel lines and a little bit of weathering or something, but for now we got to call it good because we got to pack this up tomorrow night after work to go to the event. So again, if you missed it earlier, we're not going to Scale Masters, unfortunately. The event was not shaping up to look very good, and so by that I mean not too many contestants, so we decided to go to California Jets instead. We've got a bunch of buddies that are going there, so we thought that'd be fun. So anyways, this thing turned out pretty cool. Hopefully it doesn't wrinkle too bad in the sun. We did add the wing fences to it. There's some other stuff we could add to it at some point, but again, this is a sports scale model. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this little repaint, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Everything went pretty well. So yep, we'll see. Hopefully get some footage from the event this weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you in the next one.